Good morning and afternoon and evening, everyone. Share my screen so we get
Morning, gentlemen.
how you doing there, Will?
Hanging in there, buddy.
This is good. This is good. We're moving in. Nico, how are you?
Hey, good
We
morning.
have yeah, I know you're a busy man because we have a Trust IP steering committee meeting later today for which you are hopefully
Oh,
busy
yeah,
preparing.
that is absolutely the case, and we should have the deliverable done before then.
That's the plan. Excellent. Folks are going to be amazed at how many deliverables are going to be pouring out of Trust RP this year. Yeah, very nice.
Is
All
it
right.
the deliverable becomes a milestone at that point?
I guess you could put it that way. Yeah. It's just, it's interesting because, we, when we started Trust RP 5.5 years ago, we were very conscious that, we're proposing a new protocol stack, that's at least a decade-long effort. And we're like, yeah, but what choice do we have, right? How are we ever actually really going to solve the problem without a proper stack, very much like the internet itself? So I've been pointing out, we had our 5th anniversary symposium last November, and I'm just pointing out, folks, we're over the halfway point. But it'll make sense that they're literally, I think, if you count the 3 carry specs, they're like 7 or 8 trustworthy specs that should be the first things to actually get to trustworthy IP. The top level called trustworthy IP approved deliverable. So you have working draft, approved deliverable, and then if it's submitted then for the steering committee, it can become a trustworthy approved deliverable, and we'll finally get there with. And it's like this sort of like birthing something. It's all this gestation, and then they all, the first round birth at the same time. If we go fast enough, I'd like to see some of our deliverables actually reach that this year. We were moving at top speed, and I really think that's great. All right, I'm going to, as the room fills up, I'm going to share my screen here. So we get the right page. Is it that one? Let me see if I got the right one. Yes. Can't always choose from those thumbnails. All right, arrange screens here. Get this going and then chat up. All right, usually give it till 4 after. It just became 4 after, so let's go ahead and get going. Welcome everyone to the January 21st meeting of the Decentralized Trust Graph Working Group. And as always, we share our antitrust policy notice first. We are a Joint Development Foundation branch of the Linux Foundation, and we operate under these antitrust rules. So we encourage everyone to follow them. Now that's our actual charter. We are a joint working group of TrustRP and the Decentralized Identity Foundation. So we're welcoming all our members that are coming from DIF as well. And DIF operates under the same antitrust notice. So we're all covered by that. Always stop and check to see if there are any new members that would like to make an introduction. That's always an option you have. And you're welcome to, do it live or put something in the chat. Or we also have here a bio page, which I will put a link into. If you want to add any notes about yourself there so that you can see background about other folks that are involved with this effort. I'm not seeing any hands up, so that's all good. So a quick review of our agenda today. We'll get a quick report from risk assessments. Our first 2 task forces, risk assessment and harms prevention. Then also one from Credentials Task Force. And then our main topic today is going to be my co-chair, Martina Kolpondinos, is going to go beyond use cases. And she's going to explore, she has a big background in requirements engineering, and she wants to help us explore how benefits and risks interoperate and become part of it. When you're building a socio-technical system, it's a lot more complex than just purely technical solutions. So, and then lastly, I want to come make sure that anyone who leaves early is aware right now, we are proposing to not meet next week. And we have some first person related meetings that are going on that are going to be challenging for a number of us. But most importantly, it's exactly the same time. This time slot next week is the announcement of my terms. It's an IEEE standard for personal privacy terms that they have been working on for over 5 years, and that's finally being announced in a webinar. And besides Doc Searles, the sort of father of vendor relation management, the other keynote speaker is John Bruce, who's the co-founder of Inrupt with Tim Berners-Lee. So this is a key piece of puzzle. Yes, I will grab the URLs. Is on the, oh, actually, I will first just put up, because this is where we keep our notes. For anyone who wants to get to any of the links on the page, that's our events page. And here, if I, oh, this is interesting, because it pops up automatically on this new thing. Oh, there, I can get the copy the link. So I'm going to put it, yeah. Oh, yeah, thank you, Steve. My terms webinar. Here is the link. So, in fact, I will also go up and hit the edit button and put that as the first update to the group, just to make sure it's double announced. And with that, I will ask, are there any other, updates or news that anyone wants to share, upcoming events or something of interest to the group that anyone wants to share?
Yes. Let me put my hand up.
Yeah, we hear you, Riza. Go ahead. And if you have a link, go ahead and put it in the chat, and we'll put it on the notes
Yes.
page.
Well, Drummond, you have kindly agreed to become the speaker at the Quai Annual Summit, and I'll put a link. The Quai Annual Summit happens at the SoCal Linux Expo, which is now in its 23rd year. And for the last 2 years, and this will be the third year, Quai has programmed the AI track for Scale, as it's called, the Southern California Linux Expo. It happens in Pasadena, in California, at the Pasadena Convention Center. This year, the theme is decentralized AI, and we've got some fantastic speakers. We have Ben Goertzel. Ben Goertzel, you might know the character. He coined the term AGI. So he's a big player. He runs a program, an open source decentralized project called Singularity.net, which is very aligned with our program as well in decentralizing AI. And you can see there, Drummond Reed from the First Person Project is one of the speakers. We also have Rafi Krikorian, the new incoming CTO of Mozilla. And then, of course, our very own Doc Searles, the same Doc Searles that Drummond just mentioned. So Doc has an honorific title at Quai. He's our Chief Intention Officer. You might know his book, The Intention Economy, or you might know him from the Clue Train Manifesto. He was also chief editor of the Linux Journal. So all highly relevant to Linux. If you're in SoCal, if you're in Los Angeles on March 3rd, please be there and share if you can't. The program is maturing now. We at least it's the keynote program, but it's typically in four sections. There's the keynote section, there's the development section, research, and policy, and then it kicks it caps it off with a party, an after party. So it's a full day of learning and entertainment. Hope to see you there. The ticket prices are really cheap. You'll spend more on the parking than you will on the conference ticket price. So
There you go.
hope to see you there. Thanks.
Excellent. Thanks, Riza. You bet. All right. Any other announcements before we dive into our agenda?
Just on a related note, I'm going to drop in the chat the paper that I will be talking about at that conference, and I'd love to get feedback on it because it is, I think, the most fundamental work I'm trying to do, and also most controversial. So, thanks.
And you're going to drop it in the chat.
Drop it in the chat right now.
Perfect. I will stick that into the notes here as soon as I see it there. Very good. I will look forward to seeing you there, Eric. Actually, my younger son lives in LA, so I will be coming down and staying for at least part of the weekend. Gives me a good excuse to go down and see him. There it is right there. All right. And the name of that paper is
Taxonomy for agent systems.
oh yeah, there you go. Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why it didn't give me the replacement link thing that usually does, but
Agent systems. All right, very good. I will make that a link right now. What do you mean? It is a valid URL. What's not valid about that? Oh, I see. It's already copied out the whole thing. There. Got it. All right. So, thank you, and let's dive now into our agenda. Starting, Scott, I understand there wasn't a meeting yesterday. Is there anything to report on risk assessment harms prevention?
No.
That's that simple enough. All right, all right.
I'm just trying to give as much time to Martina as possible.
Yeah, that's all good. I want to do that as well. All right. And so I'll just go, no, I'll just put no update. That's easy enough. Good. For anyone who's interested in risk assessment harms prevention task force, it meets on Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. Pacific. And will it be meeting next week, Scott? That's just, you're on mute.
As far as I know, we are.
Okay, good. Just for folks that are interested, it will be meeting next week. Okay. Now with the credentials task force, we have been deep into that in the last couple meetings with progress on that. For folks that are, may not have looked, or if you're new, we have there's the credentials, the glossary portion of what will be part of the specification at that link, and then the Republic Trust Community bootstrapping documents. I have that link too. Those two are linked there. They're apparently as Google Docs. This one is the glossary doc. I was just copying out. I'll show you where that. Thank you, Jeff, for adding an updated diagram to the glossary of the 7 credential types we have. So I was just mentioning we've been developing these. We feel that we're in pretty good shape now between the glossary, the discussion we had in bootstrapping, and the version 03 of the schemas. I'll put a link to that too. Those are the 3 sort of foundation. I've been handing out those links to a bunch of folks over this last week and saying, yeah, I think we are ready for a to move into a working draft. And what I will share right now is I'm quickly going to, one thing we'll do here is just briefly glance at a straw man of that working draft. I guess I better give it a name here. Straw man. draft of that is here. So you're welcome to look at or comment on this. Put this together yesterday just based on the classic structure. We are working at Trust.me on a new specification template using the spec up T terminology tool that we've been developing in the concept terminology working group, which just makes it easy to do what you see in W3C specifications, which is every term you use is linked every place in the specification. And all you have to do in a web presentation is hover a term, and you'll get a pop-up of all the definitions. So it's that same functionality, although in our case you can reference a term defined in the glossary in the doc or in an external glossary like the Trust over P glossary, so it can be shared across all our specs. That this currently is just a Google Doc, but this will all move into markup in GitHub. So I'm just going to quickly walk through it so you have a general sense of what, at least I'm guessing. We can of course change it around, but classic front matter, and this the opening is pretty much like any ITF spec. You have your introduction, your conventions and terminology. All of our glossary work, at least the terms most relevant to this that are not just in the Trust RP glossary, would be in this section here. Then we have our overview of the architecture, where we just list the major topics that we would be providing short explanations of. So anyone coming to it is like, okay, I see generally what you're doing, and therefore, cover all the sort of major concepts that we have, which are quite a few to introduce someone to. Then just building up from the building blocks, we cover the categories of decentralized identifiers. So, and then we have our credential requirements. This is all, much of the work of this is already been drafted here. A huge thanks to Brendan and Alberto for the work they've done in this that I posted earlier. And when you get down to each of the credential types, I didn't review all this, and we're going to want to include some of this too. So anyway, that was just early work. The main thing I wanted to do was that's the bio page, is just to share that we do have a way here to start providing feedback on working out the overall structure, so that when we start and produce the first working draft, it's following an outline that we've generally said, okay, that's roughly what we want, rather than having to draft a whole document and then do a bunch of moving around of things because folks haven't really talked about that first. So I put the link to the Strawman working draft there, and I do want to note, so the steps we're proposing with the Credentials Task Force to move to the DTG Credential Specification V1.0, the first working draft. We're separately going to figure out the glossary function works best in its own repo. So we'll, I think we're going to propose to set up a repo for that. I'll figure out action item on that. We need to finish the setting up of the specification templates, since we're the first working group coming along in the new year that says, let's get this done. Then
Again, if you need how to set up that repo, I've done it myself. So
fantastic. Steve, appreciate that. May tap you on that. It's funny because I've been, co-chair of that task force for a long time, but I actually haven't sat down and gone through the process directly. So, I know Martina will be quite involved too. And then we create working draft one. So the last thing I want to do is make it clear, when you start a working draft, you put up the flag and say, anyone who wants to be involved, everyone can be a contributor to that, and obviously a reviewer, but anyone who wants to actually join the editing team of this spec, please, you don't have to do it right now, but just put your hand up, let us know. I know, Martina and I at a minimum will be involved. I'm hoping that others that have been contributing will decide how much, you can be anywhere from a contributor of just, a section or two, or right up to, helping with the whole working draft and ongoing edits and all the glossary work, whatever. It's whatever you decide you want to do. But the editor role is more active than just a contributor or reviewer. So if you're interested in that level of involvement, let us know. That's all I have there. And with that, Martina, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I assume you're going to want to share. So I will stop sharing and let you take the ball.
Thank you. And hello, everyone. I will share, but first I prefer to give an introduction, a brief one, on what's going to happen within the next few minutes before I share anything, because I know how it is as an adult when you have the thing that someone talks about and you start playing around and looking at it and you don't listen, and that's normal. But I really would like to make sure that everyone knows what's going on and why we're doing what we're doing. So for those who don't know me yet, my name is Martina Kolpondinos. I was very happy to hear, Drummond, that you managed to say my name. I'm a co-chair of the Decentralized, or one of the co-chairs of the Decentralized Trust Graph Working Group. And I'm also involved in holding the coherence and what I would call like the flexible glue between everything that this group is producing and the broader first-person project ecosystem, so to speak. So this block is about sense making, kind of. It's time boxed to about 30 minutes, but if we only take 10 or 15, then this is what it is. We may also be able to take a little bit more than 30, depending on where we go. It's not about, just to make some expectation management, it's not about making any decisions today. It's not about locking anything down or creating any solutions. The goal is really to surface to everyone what we already have and to figure out what is missing, what should be maybe reshaped, and to make sure we're all on the same table and speaking about the same things, because many things are going on at the moment in the first-person space, and sometimes it's of value to sit down and think again about what's out there and where we want to go, not to forget. So Roman mentioned the socio-technical system. This part is, let's say, like the social side of that social technical system. It's a lot about experiences, sentiments, perceptions. So kind of what is needed, that's technical, and the architectural parts that follow can be supported from that point of view or from that side. I'm going to share a link with you, and first I may even be able to share my screen this time. Let's see. Do you see my screen?
Yes, it's
small. I know.
It's small. Yeah,
it will become
right.
bigger.
Yeah.
So this is our play field. What I did, it will be kind of a mix between a very unstructured way, kind of free-floating, brainstorming, how you can participate and add your ideas and thoughts, But I added some sort of structures with the pieces or some of the pieces that we already have, which you can evaluate and add additional ideas. And if you do not want to participate in this way, we can also have in parallel a discussion. So you can decide, you can drop in and out of either contributing to the board or having a conversation. So what we have here is like a happy path, an exceptional path, like an exception path. This is the challenge with mirrors. So I stick with that first. So the happy path looks like someone joins a community, the person participates in that community, the person may join another community, a second one or a third, fourth one, and the person may eventually leave one of those communities or all of them. And the exceptions is like someone wants to rejoin a community or someone is excluded. So all of those are structured the same way. We have here like one part of kind of a user story, but I put imagine instead of I expect that, or I want that, because it's still a lot about how it could look like and what we wish how it will look like. So here we have as a person joining a community within the first person network, I imagine, and then here we have some sticky notes. It started with, it felt like, it considered, it enabled or allowed me to being unsure about. And for example, here, where it started with receiving an invite so that I receive an invite that is easy to understand, or I receive an invite of which I know I can trust, or I'm able to actually join a request to join. I don't have to wait for an invite, but I can be proactive. Or it considers that I am colorblind, or whatever. I guess you see where this is going. So this is one step where you can participate. Another thing, what we already have is like, we're talking about harms and risks, and we're also talking about different types of credentials. So if you see that I'm colorblind, you maybe want to add, oh, but this comes with a harm potential, or it comes with a potential risk. So you can just grab the sticky note, put it here to that note, and write whatever you perceive could be a potential risk. Deleting it now. The same with the credential types. If you see, oh, but this is something related to a specific sort of credential type, you can add it. Or if you think like, hey, I'm not sure if this already exists, but if, then I think it should be related to one of those credential types. And because we are several people, multiple people, we have it on both sides. So it's the same. You can just decide which stacks you want to take the sticky note from. Here, these are sticky notes if you think like, oh, these 5 things are nice to think about, but I actually think one is missing or multiple are missing. So you can just take this one, move it here, and write on top what it should consider. When we move down with each of them, we have like some sort of sentiment analysis. So with regard to participating, to joining, you could say in the role of an architect, developer, designer, privacy advocate, one of those roles, how does it feel to be able to distinguish between formal communities and informal communities, for example? I made one example as a prospect member. For me, this is irrelevant. And the same goes with is it important, or how does it feel if a group actually exists physically or only virtually? Does it make a difference for you from the perspective as an architect, developer, designer, privacy advocate? And so this is like the frame or the template, which goes for all of them. And we have 2 additional areas down
Martina, can I
here.
ask one question? Just so
Yep, sure.
I'm trying to take notes and I want to do terminology. So each of these, you don't refer to these as use cases. What do you call each of these?
I would not, at this point, I don't, or not at this point, but with regard to the social side of the social technical side, I really prefer to look at it from a very member-centric point of view, let's put it that way. When we use the term use cases, which is very similar to what we're doing here, it already comes with a label of business and potential financial benefits, right? So this is really, I really ask you to not to think in kind of types of what is possible, what is feasible financially, what would give most revenue, what is actually applicable by businesses or doable by businesses. Really think as if you were a user and you joined, think about the onboarding. So what do you expect, how this looks like? What, if you participate in the community, what do you expect or imagine how it should look like? What are the activities that you think you should be able to perform? So this is the
do you call
difference.
these activities?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Good. I was just looking for the term to
Yeah, it's about in another setting I would call them daily life activities, but here it's more focused on like community related activities, right? So it's not just open space daily life, it's community related. This is why at the moment at least we may find another term. It's only about activities within that context.
Oh, interesting. So Mitch just mentioned in the in the chat stories.
Yeah, it's also not a user story. So I really
Okay.
want to, as I see what you mean, absolutely. And as I mentioned here, the first part is definitely one aspect that is used in user stories. But I really would like you to put on your, in a way, naive hat and not think about all those frameworks and tools, but just like, okay, if you happen to be invited, what would you expect? What do you imagine? What should be possible? Okay.
Yep.
And here we have like the puzzle park. It's essentially the same, but you can fill in whatever you want, however you want to use it. If you say, okay, here it's nice, we have rejoining, we have joining, participating, leaving, but I think this activity is missing, then just add it here. The same with like the sentiments. If you feel like, okay, I would, independently of any activity, I am just interested on a sentiment with regard to that specific question. Then just use one of those. The first is the faster, as we used to say in German language, and start filling it and maybe also pointing others to it. And here is like the jam park. Just there is no color coding here. Just take one sticky note, whichever you like, and just write down whatever thoughts you have in addition to everything. Yeah, more unstructured than above. And so this is it. I'm going to share the link. So some people found it. I'm not quite sure how they managed to do that, but okay. I have one question. Maybe I saw that Brandon is in the call. I'm not sure that everyone is familiar with the different credential types. So maybe really in a nutshell of like 2 minutes or so, Brandon, could you give like a brief overview? And sorry to put you on the spot.
Sure. Yeah. So at a high level, there are edge credentials, annotation credentials, and invitation credentials. And so the edge credentials are the relationship credentials and the membership credentials that basically define the graph. And the annotation credentials are various kinds of annotations that can add information and detail to those credentials. So, for example, could be an endorsement of certain types of uh, skills, claims, that kind of thing about someone else. A persona is a disclosure of a public or semi-public persona that you want to actually have that linked to someone else so that they can identify that you are the person that you claim to be in a certain space. And then witness credentials are for some kind of official witness service or person who can verify that relationships were formed in their presence. That's, at events or to increase the trust within a trust community. And then invitations are fairly straightforward to join a trust community or a trust network. You'll need some kind of invitation. So, is that enough for you, Martina?
Yeah, for me it is. I'm not sure anyone okay with it. Any questions? I mean, you can start in the meantime with playing around with the board, adding all your thoughts. It's really meant to be like a creative process in the sense of whenever you want to discuss something or have a question, just raise your voice. Well, don't raise your voice, but just say it here. And so the question I have at the moment is everything okay with the information that Brendan just shared?
Yeah, I'm showing the
Okay.
diagram we have, and then I put the link to the glossary earlier. I'm trying to copy the diagram. I'm gonna have to get a different version of it into the notes. But the full glossary that includes that diagram and then a description of every credential is here, and I'll just repeat that into the chat for anyone who is saying, "Oh, I need to look that over." Okay, there are a couple notes or questions. Mitchell knows first arrow on the board is an invitation credential. Okay, thanks. I saw, Martina, you put the link in there to the Miro board, so I'm going to, and I'll copy this again for anyone who wants to. That's the link to the glossary where we have those definitions, and I'm going to copy your link to that into the notes. So any questions for Martina about this this Miro board and the process? So Martina, you're basically inviting all the members of the working group to start, contributing stickies to the various activities and sort of living the life of, okay, we're in a world with decentralized trust graphs, and you're going through this process with your involvement with a verifiable trust community, right?
Yes, exactly. And just to mention, this board will be accessible also after this call. So whenever you feel to come back and add something, feel free to do so. It also should help maybe, for example, Brandon, to get some additional ideas or thoughts, at least that trigger some additional ideas. So it's really like something that is worked on collaboratively in this group and can also be used by every one of us. And what I'm going to do within the next few weeks or days will be that I try to synthesize what we got, and then we can have a follow-up discussion, or maybe it will just be an information that will be shared. We'll see how this evolves.
Hey guys, I have a question. I didn't raise my hand, but if you could just jump in, this is Christian. Um, do we have? So I'm reading the glossary right now. There's a lot in there. You guys have done amazing work. Uh, are there initial schemas that could help us perhaps understand each of these types of credentials, understanding they're not finalized schemas since we're still working on the concepts, but it would help me perhaps seeing a more technical document rather than just the graphs. Do we have that? Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Thank you.
There it is. Yes, I sort of rushed earlier to put in the link. I'll give it since it is I'll put it back in the chat. Yes.
Thank you,
And
Drummond.
yeah, that's the work. Again, I want to thank Brendan and Alberto for doing the work, and they each of the schemas. Brendan, you might want to for folks that may not have seen this last week. We don't have to over index on it, but it's you explained last week how there's a core schema and then you build on that, right? I was going to say,
Exactly.
Brendan, I could let you share and you could walk through that briefly if that's easier to do.
Sure. One moment. Let me just get the document pulled up here. You can also, at this point, the latest changes have been merged to the main branch. So I'm just going to copy that in. So so that has been updated. And let me share my screen. I'll try to do it briefly.
Yeah, Jeff, I saw you had your hand up. Was that because you wanted to share
just
a better link? Yeah, sorry about that. I was I still had that tab up to the original post.
All right. So you should be seeing GitHub here, the link. And so there's some documents in here. There's all the credentials are in this one file here. The rest is more descriptive, additional information. So this is what I just described, the edge, invitation, annotation credentials. And then there's some things that are not credentials, but just verifiable data structures. For example, an R card, which is like a business card or relationship card to add, human readable data. This is just a small graphic, basically just showing those categories of credentials. We are proposing that the types, so these are W3C verifiable credential version 2 is the standard. And so there's a hierarchy, DTG for decentralized trust graph credential. And then there's these specific types of credentials. And so we're proposing that version 2 be the standard, but that would there be a kind of migration path for version 1.1 verifiable credentials. Basically, it would be great if implementation should accept 1.1 credentials, but the mandatory is version 2. This is just some additional detail of what that looks like in version 2 and version 1. So the base structure, there was iterations, and it was not just me and Alberto, although it's gone through various iterations with this group and with input from others as well. Some of the folks attempting to build for the Linux kernel project, and try to keep it as simple as possible. So that was the goal. So there is a base structure, and again, it looks very similar to standard credential types, and then so each one they look very similar, but their purposes are distinct, and so that's why they're being called out specifically. If you look at the bootstrapping document that Drummond put in there before, it should generally make sense. And again, we can discuss if there's questions, but the membership credential is your membership into some existing trust community or trust network. And so it's from the community did for that community to your member did. I'm going to simplify here. There's other kind of edge cases. Relationship credentials, these are the core credential, peer-to-peer credential between two people, or two entities, I should say, really more likely. And the idea is that by default, these are pairwise private relationship DIDs, sometimes membership DIDs. that allow you to indicate unidirectionally. So I indicate that I have a relationship with you, and you indicate you have a relationship with me. That's described in a little more detail here. We want to make sure these support zero knowledge proofs. So just a couple of notes about that. The invitation credentials, again, is from someone authorized in the VTC to issue these to a prospective member identified by the appropriate DID. So they can say, okay, you are invited. There's a question about roles and access control, and should your role type, or specific details of the kind of membership that you're being invited to or permissions be described in the credential or just in the trust registry, and that's needs to be described further. Persona credentials. So persona is the idea that you have in different communities, in different parts of your life, or same for entities, different facets of yourself that you want to portray, and a persona allows you to link certain data to a certain persona and not other data. So again, you can say this persona I want to annotate a relationship with you, and to say yes, I'm identifying myself as this particular persona. Endorsements
Just one
are
quick question there. So the persona is also used for interior management of your systems, I imagine, as well. So you're really using that same identifier to control which persona you're displaying to the world, right?
I
Yes.
think if I'm understanding you right, yes. So the idea is that, yeah, you have a persona. I'll just give a very simple example. Let's say I'm a professional in this sphere, and I'm also in a softball league. I want to keep those personas separate so that all my work details remain with the work persona, and my softball, league persona has a whole different set of data that is linked to it, and relationships that are linked to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just saying you could also use it to partition your interior systems. Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm not
Yes,
sure
you're
what you mean
correct.
by interior systems, but I would imagine so. Yeah, if you're talking within a trust community, are you describing that sort of interior system?
I'm saying like an agent role. In other words, I might have an agent which does one thing and then for people, and then a different agent that does a different set of tasks for a different set of people. And those would both present with persona IDs.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, that sounds consistent.
I just have to say that the point about agents needing personas as well just came up in a call. If we have time, I can share a little bit more about that. But you're exactly right. Yep.
Great, great. Endorsement credentials, this is, it could be any type of data. The endorsement object is not defined at this point. It could be contextual, but there's some data that will go in there to say, I know you and I endorse that we've worked together for 4 years and that you did an excellent job. Or, endorsement could also be an access grant. Again, to say, you are authorized with certain powers or role, etc. That might happen through an endorsement also. Witnessing is, again, trust is always conditional within a trust community. And so the witness is a way for a trust community to have some participation in relationship formation, to witness relationships as formed in a certain context, which would allow them more legitimacy potentially. It could also track things like, did we meet at the same event? Have we been to various meetings together, etc. The R card is just the idea that, these are kind of technical system level kind of credentials that define the structure, but you might also want to reveal certain data, just like a business card or a relationship card. And so we're proposing that this just follows the J card, which is similar to the V card standard for consistency. So, quick note, I know many folks came in to interest in this group through personhood credentials. So a personhood credential is just a membership credential in a particular trust community whose governance enforces personhood. That is it is a membership credential in a particular type of trust community. So that's the intent there. Trust registries are also going to be used in this. You could use it for updated information on folks, or entities, and also handles revocations, things like this. Um, Quickly, also things like identity verification credentials are not in this scope and are assumed to be trust community specific. So if you are getting some kind of liveness scan and you're doing submitting your credentials, your driver's license for some verification, that is not a part of the standard. But of course, various trust communities will make use of those for making determinations on membership, etc. Importance of zero knowledge and selective disclosure. And we need to be, do some careful analysis about privacy. The bootstrapping document talks about membership DIDs in various places that may not be pairwise private. And we just want to make sure that we consider that all carefully so that when privacy is important, that it can be maintained.
Hey, could I just ask something on membership dids now? So what basis? What is the starting point for personhood? I guess I'm asking. Is it a membership in some sort of community that is promoting itself as the basis for personhood?
I believe that's right. I'll defer to Drummond for more description on that.
So the short answer, Steve, is yes. What we discovered, it was certainly proof of personhood and how to solve it at scale was the origin of the first person project. We said, hey, to do that, and do it privacy preserving way, we should standardize how you do decentralized trust graphs. What we then discovered was, whoa, there's a whole bunch of uses for decentralized trust graphs in addition to or on top of that proof of personhood. That's one of the powerful things you can do. So that's why we generalized to a verifiable membership credential. And I literally covered this topic yesterday. I was asked to present to the W3C Credentials Community Group about our work here at DTG and the First Person Project. So I just put in a link to that presentation in the chat. I'm happy to show you the very slides at the end that go here. Here's how it relates to agents. But I'm very clear. A personal credential is a verifiable membership credential in a verifiable trust community that's part of a verifiable trust network where the communities have all been qualified to say, you meet the governance requirements to be trusted to issue one credential per unique person in your community. That's the requirements of the personhood credentials paper.
And to judge who qualifies as a unique person.
Yes, exactly. Which is it's a non-trivial thing. So I don't
Well, that's what I mean. I want to see where the boundary is because who qualifies as a unique person is not within the scope of this. So that's what we're doing here is ultimately is clarifying the boundary.
That's right. And that's right. And so the thing I want to say is the border, I think of church and state. At Trust REP, we set up standards and models for digital trust ecosystems of all kinds. And now we're extending that to, and they want to use decentralized trust graphs. The governance of those communities and those networks is up to them. So if you're interested in a network, a verifiable trust network for personhood, that's what we're doing in the First Person Project. That's why we established First Person Collaborative. Folks are welcome to get in touch with that there. I'll put in that's a link to the homepage. We just have literally a single page out there in a white paper about that. But that's the church to say we're standardizing the trust graph here. We're actively working to develop the cooperative and the network that will use that graph. Which reminds me, I forgot to even mention, but I will put in the link. I think I've mentioned each of the past meetings. There is a full one-day conference just devoted to that whole topic of personhood and agenthood in the age of AI. It's called the Summit for Human Agency, and that's a link to the event page. It's ground zero for the work that we're doing here. It is an invitation based because there's a limited number of folks. It's the day before the Linux Foundation members summit in Napa, California. So that's on February 23rd. Love to have anyone there that would like to come. You will be very much at home at that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm stuck on the East Coast for a while taking care of my parents, but
all good, all good. I understand most recently they actually are going to film all the sessions, so it should there should be some really rich content coming out of that. And Steve, I didn't know. I mean, I should have known. You're one of the folks working at MetaGov. Do you want to say a brief word about MetaGov?
well, I just want to say a funny story. I was talking with Liz Barry yesterday, who's the executive director, and she's just running headlong into the whole sovereignty people versus the provable personhood people, and how those things, conflict. In other words, the sovereignty people just saying I should be able to set up a unidentified persona anywhere, and the people who want to tie things more directly to individual human beings. So she's just coming up against that conflict in force in some of the work that she's doing. It was kind of funny because you guys deal with that like basically continuously.
Yeah, we're living right in
You're
the middle
living
of
that
that.
nightmare, that schism.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Brendan, thanks very much for reviewing that. I do strongly recommend to any work group members to dive in and provide any feedback on that version 03 spec, because that is in many ways the meat of what will become the credential specification. And we have 2 minutes left. I will show you, if you want to see it, I'm going to go down to the very end of this presentation where I go through and explain the work we're doing, and our cards. So at the very end, so I'll actually show you this. So we introduce verifiable relationship credentials. And this, are you seeing my screen? I'm just checking to make sure this is coming through.
Yes.
Is this
Yeah,
showing?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So this is the basics of, okay, this is how you start. This is the DID exchange that happens with verifiable when you're doing a verifiable relationship credential. And then the next slide is the full exchange of the VRCs, right? And we just set this up so the basic thing is in there. And then I go on, I'm not going to cover it now, to explain, okay, this is how we do personas. And here's the 3, updated version of this, show the 3 types of DIDs and all that stuff. But at the very end, is say, now, how do we do agenthood? Well, it looks the same way. It's just that you're forming a verifiable relationship with an agent, and it has all the same capabilities. It has the DIDs. It has personas, as Steve was pointing out, if you need it. But what you have is this verifiable relationship that you, as a person that can prove proof of personhood, can also prove control of that agent. That's the key. But we don't need to change anything in the architecture. We need to be able to identify, assert that relationship is not with another person or a verifiable trust community. It's with an agent. And that way, agents can be not only part of but agents can work for and represent people and trust communities. And there's some really powerful things that I think we can do with that, which we're very excited to explore. So again, I know we're at time. I want to remind everyone again, we will not be meeting next week. I'll put a reminder in Discord. I'll send out an email next week as well. But I do very much encourage you. My terms in those relationship credentials this is why my terms is so relevant to what we're doing. I think it would be great if you're able to attend that webinar next week. It will be recorded as well, But if you just have the regular time slot reserved, and I can grab the link one more time.
Yeah, and it's going to be the whole basis of momentum for creating peer negotiated relationships going forward. So on my terms, is really groundbreaking.
I very much agree, and I will stick it one last time in the chat for anyone who that's the where you can sign up for it. So again, that will be next week, and then we will reconvene the week after. And geez, if we're cranking along, we might even have a working draft ready. And in the meantime, please follow up with Martina's Miro board, and you can start to get into literally what I love about the way she's doing is think about you traveling through the world of verifiable trust communities. What would be the, what questions and things you're going to run into. This is a socio-technical system, and we're all part of it. So with that, I know we're at time. Thank you, everyone. As always, super glad to have you here, and we will see you on the webinar next week. Well, we won't see you, and in 2 weeks, we'll reconvene. So appreciate it, and appreciate all of you. We'll see you then.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Bobby.
everyone. Bye.
Thanks. Martina, if you're still on, I gave my Discord username because I couldn't find you on Discord.
Yeah, I saw it. I'm looking for you.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah,
Bye,
that's
everyone.
a great dialogue. Definitely connect there. That would be amazing. All right. Goodbye, everyone.